Yo, 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 what's good, what's good, what's good? Y'all remember to hit that like button and that subscribe button. Hit that like button and that subscribe button as we talk about it. Let's talk about this, man. As we watch the news every day, day in and day out, somebody is getting convicted of a felon. For whatever the reason may be, somebody is getting convicted of a felon. Some guys gonna be gone a long time, and some guys are gonna be gone a short time. But nevertheless, they're gonna be gone. And what I like to call, they will be entering the time machine. The time machine is where sometime a man can become something that he thought he would never become. A man can become an animal in so many ways. Some man enter the time machine only to never make it out. Some men enter the time machine and get transformed into something they wasn't. Life inside any institution is hard because the mental wear and tear it has on you can stretch you so far out to sometime men never return. The mental capacity of prison that weighs on a man's mind is heavy as the crown on his head. Let's talk about a life sentence. A life sentence. Let's talk about a life sentence with parole, to where it forces you to do half of your sentence. Half of your sentence with a life without parole is 30 years. Most people don't even walk the earth, let alone do 30 years in prison. Can you imagine the wear and tear of a man doing 30 years inside of a penal institution? For whatever the crime may be. For whatever the crime may be, 30 years inside of any penal institution is a very long time. And I must admit, it's a lot of guys deserve to spend the rest of their life in prison. It's a lot of them do. But on the back end of that, it's a lot of guys that deserve to get a second chance. And I was one of those guys. I did 25 years in a penal institution on a life sentence. Was only supposed to do 15 years. However, once you are inside of any institution, it goes by phases. What do I mean it goes by phases? For the first 10 years that I was in prison, I had to adapt to voluntary ignorance. Voluntary ignorance is people that are in prison that don't hold themselves accountable for the things they did in society. Voluntary ignorance is a man that's thinking he can do the same thing and get the different results. Voluntary ignorance is thinking once you in prison, somebody owes you something. I can go on and on about my definition of voluntary ignorance. But what I'm here today to talk about is the life sentence. A life sentence is what they call it. Do anybody know the real true meaning of a life sentence? A life sentence is given to an individual because that person that which gave him that had no plans on that person surviving. Had no plans of that person surviving. And the people that are part of the justice system understand that. That's why they give it away. 90% of the people that gets a life sentence hardly ever make it back to this side of the fence. And when they do, their mental capacity is stretched so thin that they cannot comprehend the simplest things in society, like learning how to work a microwave or the cell phone. Any of those things. That's what a life sentence does for a person once it's given to them. It's never meant to kill you physically. It's meant to kill you mentally. Picture this. The lights going off. You enter a system where the lights are off. They're on, literally, in the hallway, in the cells, but they're off in your mind. You know why? Because you have just entered the time machine. You have just entered the time machine where everything stops. The life sentence, that's what it do to you. It's a slow death from a mental standpoint. "30 years of your life spent in one place, seeing thousands of people go in and out, in and out. It does something to a person. It tests you. It stretches you. But what it really does, it makes you stronger than you were before you went in. If you can adapt, if you can raise your mental capacity to a higher level. The life sentence. How many of you all know of an individual that got a life sentence? And you say, man, he got a lot of time. That would be accurate. He or she has just received a lot of time. The only difference between the death penalty and a life sentence is that with the death penalty, when you resort all your remedies to the courts, it's time for you to check out. But with a life sentence, it's no checking out. Only if you check out by way of self. Remember what I said. A life sentence is only handed to people that they feel like mental capacity would not see them through. That's what a life sentence does to you. It forces you into a life corner. Because it's no guessing or what you're gonna do. It's either or. Either you're gonna do it or you're gonna check out. It's one of those two things. That's what a life sentence does. Life sentence without parole is the death penalty. It's just in a shorter version. A life sentence without parole is just in a shorter version. But either or is meant for you not to make it back. And it's a true saying, only the strong survive. Only the strong survive. It's men now that are serving life in prison. And the lights are off inside of their head. There's no clear vision of what tomorrow is going to bring. The life sentence is the ruthless, hardest thing that a magistrate could give a man. Because once that mallet dropped down and they say, we sentence you to life in prison, what they're telling you is we want you to die slow. We want you to die slow. That's what a life sentence is. It's mental torment. That's all it is. It's mental. And that's why I tell people all the time, prison is mental, man. Prison is mental. And if you don't have the capacity from a mental standpoint to be held in a cell with another individual all day, every day, don't do it. Simple as that. Simple as that. This is a message, man. And I am the messenger. But like I always tell y'all, my story and my time that I serve won't save you. You have to save you. My life sentence was given to me in 1990, but I had the mental fortitude to make it back. What about you? Can you afford to spend 90% of your life in prison and come back and reform yourself all over again? Can you do it? It's tough. It is tough. And that's why they say, do not do the crime if you can't do the time. Expensive pain is what I like to call it. Because so many people are affected by he or she voluntarily ignorance decision. This is a teaching moment. This is a teaching moment. But I want to distinguish the life sentence with parole and the life sentence without parole. It's no difference. Only one is getting out if he'll allow himself to get out, and the other one is never getting out. But it's all mental anguish that was caused by voluntary ignorance. I know some say, well, what you saying? I'm saying this. At one point in time, I contributed to voluntary ignorance. But most people don't want to admit that. They don't want to admit that. That's why it's an everlasting cycle for people to return back to where they come from. No matter where you go, there you are, if you don't change. At what point in time in your life do you say, hey man, I have to right my wrong? At some point in time, you have to turn it around. You have to. Because you got to remember this. You just one life sentence away from going to prison. If you don't turn it around. If you don't turn it around. Exclude yourself from the voluntary ignorance, man. And understand that expensive pain hurts a lot of people. A lot of people gonna have to contribute to the cause of your voluntary ignorance if you are convicted of any kind of crime. In other words, what I'm saying, don't trade in a ham for a bowl of beans. But you are who you are no matter where you go. You are who you are no matter where you go. And life will test you, but you have to withstand it. And the only way you can determine whether you're strong or not is when you get in the front of a magistrate that's going to slam that gavel. And some say you're going to get what you deserve. That's how they look at it. Anytime an individual commits a crime, the masses say, well, he got what he deserved. And who are you to argue with that? Because you put yourself in a position to be judged. All I'm saying is we all are one step away from receiving a life sentence. The lights are off once you get it. The roads are dark once you get it. Some men return back. Some men don't. But I will say this. Prison has nothing to offer other than mental anguish, depression, and darkness. If that's the life for you, then you live it. But for those that choose different, I salute you. Once again, exclude yourself from voluntary ignorance, because it's happening every day. And they're giving out a substantial amount of time for anybody that want it. Don't let that be you.